know that they actually constructed World Trade Center 1 and 2 to be able to withstand a jet flying into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so all of that adding up, and then there's other kinds of things that we've heard recently, and there's a book out by one of the former flight attendants that was scheduled to go out that day, and there's all kinds of things. And there's also discussions. I don't know where the truth is. I mean, I haven't done any studies on some of this about the fact that there were no people in those planes. It was all done by remote. And if that's the case, and that was what was written by this flight attendant, that brings me to a place that it breaks my heart that all these people were actually on the ground instead of up in the air. And I mean, that was bad enough, but on the ground, and then we've never heard from them since. That really, 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 really bothers me.
You think they wouldn't just let the people be killed? like they'd really go to the trouble of not killing the innocent people?
Right.
Wow. What could I possibly say other than at this point? I mean, you gotta laugh, right? Because alt media is supposed to be the third venue as an opposition to national media, legacy media, as it's also called. Alt media is supposed to be the groundbreaking reporting, the purveyor of truth, to be the threat for the state, for the Illuminati or the New World Order, or whatever you want to take it as, right? But instead, they cater to who? Well, as you just saw, I took a clip from an interview that Jimmy Dore, who has a huge platform, somebody I actually followed, and I still do, although it's getting really hard, interviewed Leroy Hulsey, who, by the way, is a scientist at the University of Alaska-Fairbanks, who did a study a couple of years ago, which was funded by architects and engineers, to look into the implosion of World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7. Now, for anyone who follows me, you know that this is not my field. I am lacking in the science, and at least I'll admit that much. Now, did the towers come down by pre-planted explosives or thermite? Look, I don't know. I couldn't tell you that because not my field, although I think they did. But can I prove it? No, I can't. This is why geopolitics is my subject, my area of study. I can admit my limitations in certain areas. I wish more people could admit that. One thing is for certain, is that Leroy Hulsey may have done a proper study. But no matter even if he's right, it's now his credibility is ultimately destroyed. Why? Because he actually similarly quoted unknown fraud in Rebekah Roth, who it's not even her name. She went by many names. And here's the kicker. She never worked for any airline industry ever. And that's why you never hear from her ever, because for the last 5 years prior to this year, all you heard was Rebekah Roth, Rebekah Roth. Now you don't hear nothing. The reason why is because she can't learn anything new, because it would contradict her earlier statements of fake planes, drone airliners, fake passenger deaths, fake phone calls, Jew, 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 Israel, 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 and Arabs are just basically patsies. Bin Laden doesn't exist. Al-Qaeda didn't even do it. And the CIA and the NSA, well, they may have been involved, but Israel's also involved at some point, tracking who? The hijackers who don't exist, even on the planes. Hey, listen, I'm not the one jumping through hoops. I meticulously provide only evidence, only information, because that's how you learn, and that's how you grow, and that's how you create a movement that can actually do something. Now, Jimmy Dore is supposed to be the breakaway media, the alt media, who's supposed to educate his audience. You would think. Now, I'm going to give Jimmy Dore a pass here. It's not his subject, 9/11. And he's been an outspoken critic in good areas here, so I'm not blaming him. Leroy Hulsey, you're finished. This is it for you. Even if you were right, and this is where the damage comes from, right? Even let's just say you're 100% right about the World Trade Center. Your credibility is now shot because you even admit, even in that clip, and it's a minute clip, right? But I wanted you to hear the whole statement of him saying that this is not my area of study, but I heard that there's a flight attendant who wrote a book that the planes basically didn't have passengers. Now, he's saying it as if it's almost as if it's fact. Now, if he was smart, he would have basically not reverberated this claim, which is demonstrably false. They found the planes of the hijacked airliners at the World Trade Center, at Shanksville, and at the Pentagon. They found the human remains of passengers at all 3 crash sites. Tens of thousands of people saw the plane crashes at the World Trade Center. Over 100 people saw it at the Pentagon. Dozens saw it at Shanksville. Now, if you're going to go out of the way and say all these people are in on it, that they planted debris in the middle of broad daylight, you know, like this, you better provide remarkable evidence. As Christopher Hitchens once meticulously stated and profoundly stated, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And this is the reason why you don't hear from Christopher Bolin, Rebekah Roth, Barbara Honegger, Thierry Mason, Jim Fetzer, Dylan Avery, Jason Burmis, Corey Rowe, Judy Wood. I could go on and on and on. All these people disappeared. Why? Because they learned nothing new. Because their claims and their statements never provided evidence. Or they made you believe in the miraculous and the surreal because it's sexy. Because evidence, no matter where it leads to, is not. And they went into it blaming certain people before they even investigated the evidence. As I previously stated ad nauseum, if you're just going to blame the United States or Israel for 9/11 because that's your position before you investigated 9/11, you're only looking at evidence or information, not even evidence, information that acquiesces to that belief or worldview. You're only going to follow people that acquiesces or agrees with that worldview and belief. You're not in it for the evidence to where it leads. You want to hear what you want to hear. And this is the reason why alt media is supposed to be the friend of the public. Now, I just want to show you. I've contacted Jimmy Dore if he really wanted to have a grown-up discussion about 9/11. Earlier this year, we just had the biggest breakthrough in all of 9/11 history regarding an investigation by the Office of Military Commissions. As you well know, for those who follow me, the Canestraro document provides that evidence that we've known for years. We speculated for years that the CIA and Saudi intelligence were monitoring certain hijackers, Al-Qaeda operatives in California. I contacted Jimmy Dore personally. Here is a discussion. As you can see, I'll make myself disappear. Jimmy Dore, this is my message, the declaration of Donald Canestraro. Good day, Jimmy. Did you happen to know that there was a recent document which showed a covert CIA Saudi intelligence operation running inside the United States between the years 2000 and 2001? And that they were monitoring 2 known Al-Qaeda operatives who would later be involved in the hijacking of American Airlines Flight 77. It is called the Canestraro document. Donald Canestraro worked for the Office of Military Commissions and investigated the Saudi CIA intelligence operation and with certain intelligence and commission officials on conditions of anonymity about this program. If you want to cover this, I will be glad to speak with you more about this since I cover 9/11 extensively, and I am the co-host of the 9/11 podcast, The Darkened Hour. As you can see, no response. Now, I don't know who reached out to Leroy Hulsey or if Leroy Hulsey reached out to him. But nevertheless, I know Jimmy Dore probably gets thousands of messages. But this is not the first time I contacted him. I contacted him even months ago. I contacted Dave Smith. I contacted CNN. I contacted Fox. I contacted MSNBC about this specific information. You know what I heard? Because I'm not Kim Kardashian 9/11. I'm not sexy enough. I just provide information. I'm a data processor. That's all I am. I'm boring. Because I don't need to make it about me. Here's the evidence where it lays. Now, Jimmy Dore, my message to you is this. You want to name names? You want specifics? Well, I can't give you all the specifics. I can't give you all the information because I don't know it all. But here we have, without question, a fact that the CIA and Saudi intelligence were running an illegal operation inside the United States. You would think you would jump all over this because we do have names. We do have information. It's all over my channel. It's on DJ Thermal Detonator's channel. It's on Ryan Dawson's channel. Sean Russell, Darren Harvey, Ben and Eric from Project New American Century, Jonathan Bellasord. Now, Jonathan, you're new. If I got your name wrong, please forgive me, but I'm trying to give you credit. But there are people out there. Hey, Abby Martin. You had John Gold. You had Paul Thompson and Kevin Fenton. They're all gone now. Ray Nowolski, John Duffy wrote a tremendous book. Nobody mentions these names. I will. So there are certain people out there trying to give you the truth. But instead, you interviewed this guy. Because maybe for you, Jimmy Dore, maybe you really don't want to go that deeper. You want to touch the waters with your toe, maybe. But I want to go head first. You want names? How about the DCI, George Tenet? How about the Director of Operations, James Pavitt? Because in the document, it states that a CIA official, an analyst, basically heard a conversation between both of those men where they said they were glad that two people working at a Bin Laden issue station called Alex Station, codenamed, where they basically said that they were very glad that they sent two analysts, including Chief of Station, Richard Blee, and an analyst named Michelle Ann Casey, over to Afghanistan so that they wouldn't face the 9/11 Commission because they are the ones who withheld information about two al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States. Booyah! I name names. Something that Leroy Hulsey doesn't do, something that Richard Gage can't do, something that all the truthers I named couldn't do. I can. If you want to have that discussion, Jimmy Dore, I'm more than willing. If you ever see this video, I doubt you will. Now, I'm not going to treat you any different. I'm not going to call you a fraud. I don't think you are. I don't think you're a fake. I think you're the real deal. But interviewing this guy makes me wonder why you would, because the real data, the real conspiracy is not in the buildings. Now, you could believe that they came down pre-planted explosives. The only thing you're missing are names. You could believe Larry Silverstein. You could believe it was the Jews. You could believe it was the U.S. government, but you'll believe it. You don't know it. Now, let's go with something that we can know, that we can hold people accountable for. You want to have that discussion? I'm more than willing to have it with you. I really will. And that's all I could say for now. And I hope that I hear from you soon. If not, then I won't.